Hello, welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I'm Renee Allen, the host of this podcast. Excited to be here today. I have two topics that are for two different episodes, but I can't wait till the next episode to tell you the story that goes with it. So next episode, maybe tomorrow, is going to be about consistency. Is consistency possible when you have ADHD? Well, this will be a spoiler when I tell you this story, and it has nothing to do with the second, the actual topic of today, but I have to tell it to you today because it's fresh in my mind. So when you have some kind of slip up or inconsistency or something that you're not able to do very well because of ADHD, and you work on it and you find a method or you think about it more, you do everything you can to make it so you don't have the other thing happen again. And this could be something like time management, like being late. You're always on time. Well, no, you're not always on time. You're always late. And you think, I need to be consistent. I need to never be late for work again. I need to never be late taking the kids to school again. I need to never be late going to church again. And maybe you do really well with it for a long time, but you can see with something like time management, things can come up that are beyond your control that could get in the way. And yes, you can make adjustments and do better at it. But an example is you have children and you have everything all set and ready to go. And then you're getting everybody in the car, you're getting ready to go, and you realize that your baby has a messy diaper. If you've had children, that's probably happened to you at least a dozen times. At least it has for me. And that gets in the way. And so then you might think, well, I need to allow for things like that. And so you get ready to leave earlier. But then maybe there's traffic, maybe there's an accident, maybe there's something else that happened that gets in the way of being on time. And so you can see with something like that, sometimes things are out of our control, and we think of those things as things that are outside of us. And I'm having a brain glitch because I'm thinking, I'm already talking about this topic. Do I really want to switch? Yes, I do. But anyway, back to this topic. So there may be things that you do that are kind of clumsy, klutzy. My brain just went, why didn't it do that? So things like, for me, making popcorn. I can make popcorn on the stove. I can make popcorn with an air popper. I can make it in a microwave. I can make it over a fire. I can make popcorn every single way. But I still have mishaps making popcorn, especially when I'm making it with the air popper. And there have been times, especially since I started taking my ADHD medicine, where I'm not as hungry. There have been periods in my life where I eat popcorn every single night for dinner. It's simple. It's easy. It's the only thing I feel like making. I do know how to make popcorn. I have it down to a science, a system, whatever. And it's might not even be like anybody else does. When I make the butter, I have a little bit of butter. I have some coconut oil. I have clarified butter or ghee. And those ratios change, especially when I got my blood work up and my cholesterol was a little high. I put down the coconut oil and my cholesterol got better. So yeehaw for that. Not guaranteeing that for everyone, but so things can change over time. That consistency I don't care about. The consistency I care about are the things that could be a problem. Like a lot of times I'll make popcorn, I'll turn on the air popper and wonder why it's taking so long. I should know, I was just telling myself this the other night, I should know it sounds different when there's no popcorn kernels in it than it does when there are popcorn kernels. It's a different sound because the air is not coming out the same. So there have been, I don't know how many times that I wonder, why isn't it popping? Why isn't it popping? And then I look and it's because I never put any popcorn in it. Sometimes I take the popcorn out and I'm ready to scoop it. And the other night, I even put it back away thinking that I'd scooped it, but I didn't. And so I was doing other steps like put it back under the cupboard so that, the counter's clean. But I forgot to put it in there. There have been other times that I popped it and forgot to put the lid on it. And so it's just going all over the counter. It's not going in the bowl. or I forget to put a bowl under the popcorn popper. So every kind of thing that could happen, any kind of mishap has happened. I usually make the butter and stuff in the microwave one day, and everyone was in the kitchen with me. And I only say that because usually these things happen. I'm just kind of on my own and I'm kind of announcing. I'm like, oh my goodness, I forgot to put the lid on again. But this time we were all in the kitchen, we were all talking, and I went to go get the glass container that was holding it. And I'll either use kind of like that, what do they call it? Cornell. It's Cornell. That's the kind of dishes. What's the kind that actually makes the I can't remember, that makes the measuring cup that's glass. Maybe they made those too, but there's a couple different brands, Anchor, Hawking, different brands. And so those work pretty well. They don't overheat, but I also have these little Pampered Chef single cups that have a little white lid, and I love them. I even found some on, I don't have Craigslist anymore, Facebook Marketplace. Bought some more because sometimes they go missing or sometimes they break. And this one night I went to take it out and it would have been fine if I just grabbed it by the outer top edge, but I grabbed it with my hands underneath and it was so hot it burned my hands. So of course I let go with my hands and the butter and my little perfect mixture and all the glass went everywhere. And of all the things I've cleaned up in life, that's not a fun one to clean up butter because it can just stick to all kinds of things and get on your clothes and stuff like that. So yeah, is consistency possible with popcorn? For me, I'm saying no because no matter how many times I make little rules, like now I don't use those little cups anymore unless I'm mindful, and then I grab a like a what do you call it, a pot holder or something like that to help me with it. But most of the time, I just don't use those anymore. So I keep making new rules for myself to help myself not have the same problem, which in turn I would call it like having some level of consistency of being able to make popcorn and have it turn out right. I don't know if I mentioned this recently, but one night I do, like I said, I eat popcorn a lot. And we have a projector and a big screen in our living room instead of a TV. And so when everyone comes over, we have to turn out the lights to have it bright enough to be able to watch The Traitors or Survivor or a movie or something. Stranger Things, all those things that we've been watching together. And while we were watching it one night, I made some for my daughter too. She didn't say anything like it was bad or anything, but I went to go lay down on the floor because I always lay down on the floor and was eating it. And I just thought, I don't taste the salt. I need more salt. And I've learned with popcorn, I don't know if you've learned this, but when you make popcorn, you can't taste the salt as much when you first make it, like when the butter's still warm and stuff. If you let it sit for a little bit, it's even better if you put the lid on the Tupperware on it, let it sit for 20 minutes or something, 15, 10, anything is better than just fresh eating it because you won't taste the salt as much at the beginning. And so I thought, well, maybe I'm just not tasting it as much. And then I kept eating it and I thought, no, I really need more salt. So I walked back in the kitchen, grabbed the salt shaker off of the counter in the dark and added more shakes, but tried not to do too much because I made it with too much before. And I went back and laid down, so comfortable with my blanket and all my pillows and, there's just that, high level of I need it to be perfect so I can lay here comfortably, my feet in a certain way, my socks, my blanket, everything. I still couldn't taste the salt, and then it tasted like it had salsa on it, and I thought, "Why does it taste like there's salsa? It tastes like there's peppers in it." It still didn't click. You'd think the name pepper would click, but I went back in the kitchen and looked in the cupboard and saw the salt shaker that I thought I'd been using, looked on the counter, kind of in the dark, and I could see that I'd been using pepper. And so I peppered my popcorn. And I don't know, maybe if I live to be 100, I'll think of all the wrong ways to make popcorn, and then I'll be mindful of it. Now, when I go to grab the salt shaker, even if it's dark, I like check, is it salt? Yes, it's salt. And then I use that. And I'm trying to find a way to avoid having a mishap again, just like I did when I broke my foot the third time. We were on a trip in Israel, Greece for a few days, and back to Israel. So many cobblestone roads, old Jerusalem, cobblestone. Some of it is a ramp, some of it is stairs. And you have to watch because I think the stairs are in the middle. So, like, if you're walking on a wide walkway, if you've been to Jerusalem before, in Old Jerusalem, it's within the city walls, and there's 4 quarters. And in all the quarters, there a lot of them, they're on hills and stuff. It's not flat. And so as you go downhill, there's steps in the middle made of cobblestone, not even ground, and then the side is ramp. So you really have to watch to make sure you're not gonna trip. And if you've tripped a lot in your life, and if you're not mindful, you need to be mindful. And I'd already broken my foot twice just from rolling it, and I didn't wanna have it happen a third time. And I was more mindful than anybody else there. I am sure of it. But I still broke my foot the last day when I was in Greece because I wasn't mindful for a half of a second. And when you have ADHD and you have your brain that can get so easily distracted and so easily off track of what you're doing, what you need to be mindful of. And you can't, honestly, you can't be mindful of everything all the time. But at the same time, I don't know if you have people in your life like this, but the people in my life who don't have ADHD or who don't have any of the traits, they never do anything like this. Never, ever, 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 never, ever. And so it kind of bugs me when people say things like, "Oh, we all have a little ADHD," and I think, no, my husband has zero, zero, zero ADHD. I don't think if I look at one of my sons, one of my daughters, I don't know, a lot of us don't. A lot of us don't. A lot of us do, though. It's highly hereditary for sure, but my husband doesn't have any of it. So, and a lot of people in my life don't. I didn't see anybody else bumping into corners all the time and tripping except for my cousin, Kelly. And then later she's like, "Oh, yeah, I have ADHD too." We both talk about it. Like, we're the most fun. But back then we didn't know. We just thought we're the klutzy ones. We're the ones who, here I go again, falling in front of everybody. And, you know, so it can be discouraging for sure, especially when you do all the things, you make all the precautions. But my big, big spoiler for the next episode is consistency is something that we can work toward. It's something that we can aim for sure. And you can learn from past mishaps and think about it. The way I broke my foot the 3rd time was different than the first 2, although very similar, very similar. And the fact that I was on an elevated surface going off of a step hit my foot in a wrong way and in an uneven surface. Yeah, yeah, so okay, so that's that. I have another story, but I will never get to the topic today, so I'll save the story, the most current one that happened today that made me think, "Consistency, is it even possible?" All the things that you do to prevent slipping back into an old habit or, whatever, even if it's just a daily schedule, you're consistent with it, and then you get sick or somebody else needs you or something, and it's really important to not get distraught when that happens and not be so married to your system or your perfect record that it's devastating when you don't do it. And it still might be a little devastating, but not completely devastating. We can all throw fits every once in a while of, "I can't believe it." I was doing that in my car today. I wasn't actually yelling, but I let myself exclaim quite a bit because I thought, "I gotta feel it. I gotta feel these emotions." But I'll give you that story tomorrow when I make the next episode. But for today's topic, how far are we in here? 14 minutes. So for today's topic, it's different, but it's also right out of something that's been going on in my life. And I have a feeling it's probably going on in your life too. Whew. So, if you have ADHD, you are more likely to have emotional dysregulation. And what does that mean? We don't always, we're not always as balanced with emotions as somebody else might be. And there are other kind of conditions or disorders that lead to this or phases of life. Think of, like they say, the terrible twos. 2-year-olds although my 2-year-olds were pretty good. I think 3 was when it came in more. But the terrible twos are a typical time where that emotional regulation is not strong. The ability to not throw a fit when you don't get what you want, when you don't wanna share or whatever. Your response might be greater than. And it doesn't just mean throwing a fit. It doesn't just mean crying, yelling, anger, sadness. It can be other things too. And oh, so here's what I'm thinking. And well, let me start out. Sometimes other people do things and say things that don't make us feel good, or we don't feel good because we think they don't feel good. And so we think, I want to help them not feel that way anymore. I don't like it when they're upset with something that I did, or they don't understand why I did something that way, or they're upset with me, or they don't like me. And when this happens, not everybody's going to like us. I know that, but it's still not fun, right? We still want people to like us. We still want people to support what we do. And the reality is, not everybody's going to do that, but that's not always helpful when you're in the moment, or if you care about the people, or if you have a job where you need to keep the peace and you need to help people around you feel happy. And I recently had an experience, and it's not like it's the first time in this class. I teach yoga, and this is some people who come in after my yoga class. But it's not the first time it's happened, but it's the first time it's happened with these people, and it's the first time that they've really talked back to me. It's really talked back to me. And and I was pondering it quite a bit. I mean, for a couple days. I mean, I still am, right? This was Friday and today is Tuesday. And one nice thing about teaching yoga, especially here in this room, I teach on Zoom and stuff, is that I can just lay quiet while other people are in a pose that's held longer. And I give them that time to do it. And then I get that quiet time too. And I was thinking about this, and the message came in my mind: you are not responsible for how somebody else responds. You might do something, and they might respond in a way, they may be upset. I'm not responsible for that. I'm not responsible for whether they're happy or not about what I do. And yet I feel responsible. Why would that be? Is it because I'm a people pleaser? Do I want people to like me? Or do I want people to not have negative feelings? Maybe they like having negative feelings. Maybe they like getting all high and mighty and angry with somebody. So if I tried to get in the way of that and tried to stop them, one, am I going to be able to? Two, maybe I'm stopping them from doing something that they would really rather just stay with. Or maybe they're, I don't know, maybe they like maybe they like being negative. Maybe not everyone's gonna like what I do, and that's okay. And I've had to learn that even as a teacher, that there may be people who come in and say, "I don't like that you play real music. I'd rather have instrumental music." And they've actually said that to me. And I say, "Yeah, there's sometimes I play instrumental music and I like that too, but I like doing this." And give him my reasons. But do I really need to give him my reasons? No, because I often end with, there are classes that just have instrumental music. You're welcome to go to those classes. There's a lot of classes here offered. And let them know, this is how I do it. And if you don't like it, that's okay. You don't have to keep coming. And and I've and learning to have peace with that. Because when you have ADHD, you could have rejection sensitive dysphoria. Is that how you say it? I always say it wrong. Let me look it up. RSD. I used to say sensitive. Yep, it is sensitivity. I mean, it is sensitive. I used to say sensitivity, but it's rejection sensitive dysphoria. It's a largely neurodivergent related experience. This goes along with ADHD, experience of extreme, intense emotional pain triggered by perceived rejection, criticism, or failure. So when I receive criticism, when I feel like I've failed in some way of keeping everyone happy, which I know is impossible, but wouldn't that be the dream, right? I don't know that I'm feeling emotional pain, but I am feeling some very, very strong emotions, and it doesn't feel good. And so if you find that somebody around you has, like, let's say you pass somebody in your car and you didn't mean to do anything, you didn't put them in danger, but they're not happy about it and they're honking and who knows what else and yelling at you, and that doesn't feel good. You don't want to have somebody going off with a lot of anger, and yet what can you do? What can you do? It can be scary out there, right? With driving rage and all that. And so you might feel your rejection or your feeling of dissatisfaction because somebody else is upset might be stronger than somebody else. Else might be going right back at you, or whatever. I try to, I don't know, try to cope with it however I can. Thankfully, I don't drive. I mean, I drive often, but not a ton. Um, Another thing with ADHD is that makes it hard in situations like this is your emotional memory can be very strong. You may remember how you feel in a moment for a very long time. It may come back to you as you play it back in your mind. Some people are like, oh, I've moved on. You might not move on as easily. You might be pondering it for a day or two later. You might be feeling it in your body. Those emotions have not processed and gone away. They're kind of stuck in there. And that's something that yoga teachers talk about is the emotions that get stored in our bodies. And it's one of the reasons that yoga, or even just going on a hike, something that's really meditative, slow, you're breathing along with your movement or whatever, or just slowing your breathing down, can really help those emotions process. If you walk to work, you might notice that you're thinking about things and you're kind of playing it out, and you're also getting that movement, and you might be able to process those emotions so that they're not just stuck there for so long. And then you also may have a habit of over adapting, changing what you might feel is actually right, or not taking care of yourself because you're trying to either avoid criticism or make adjustments because of that criticism. And with time, you may learn things like I did as a yoga teacher is I can't change the music for everybody who comes up and says they prefer something else. I just can't. And I don't want to. And now I'm going to say it's my class. Welcome. You're welcome to come on in and see what I play today. And I say all this, but for the most part, like 99% of the feedback is about, I love your playlist. And I do too. So I'm happy to hear that. And if they don't, I mean, there was one time I played Seasons in the Sun. Do you know that song? It's a really old song. I don't know if I can do that because I may have to like take that out because of copyright laws, right? I don't know that I can sing a whole line. I'll have to look and see if it's, yeah, I'll probably have to take it out. But I do love that song, and I played it once in my class. And afterwards I said, I hope that wasn't hard for anyone because it is a song, sad song. It's about death and stuff. And afterwards someone came up and actually, 2 people came up. They weren't mad at me, but they said it was hard for them. So I took that to heart and thought, yeah, maybe I should be more sensitive. But conflict, confrontation, it might feel overwhelming. It might just kind of take you off of your game. Whatever balance you were feeling, it's gone. And you may just have developed over your life people pleasing just as a strategy just to avoid conflict. And if that happens and now you're working on it and you're trying to just like, hey, I'm an adult, I can do this, and if somebody doesn't like it, that's okay. And it can be hard because now you're choosing yourself, and both things can be hard. Giving up yourself to do people pleasing and taking care of yourself and managing the idea or absorbing the other person's emotions, because you might have more of a sense of empathy or a greater connection to some people. I had, speaking of conflict or criticism, there was a woman on Reddit once who was saying, I wish people wouldn't say all the time that women with ADHD have more empathy, because it's been shown, and she showed a study that was done on children with ADHD, that they did not have as much empathy as the other children that they studied. And I thought that's really interesting. And I read the study and I was glad to read that, but it made me curious. and I read more, and there are other studies that show that we can have more empathy. We can be more in touch, that the level of empathy or the interpretation of the children of what was being asked played into that. So you can make your own choice of, I mean, everyone's different, right? You might have a lot of empathy and it can make it harder in life. It does for me. And yet I love it too. I love to love deeply. I love to love people so much. I love to connect with them so much. But the pain is real when they're gone and when they're not around and when the memories are strong and they're not there anymore. So let's come and look and see if I've missed anything yet. Um, so these are some points about rejection sensitive dysphoria, whether you actually have it to a degree that it's extremely painful or not, or you're just, as some people might say, you're so sensitive. You might be more sensitive than most, and it might cause a lot of turmoil within you. You might be used to overcompensating, and now you're not, and you're having to sit with that discomfort of not being able to fix it fast. And the truth is, if you try to fix it, often it doesn't fix it anyway, and then it's more frustrating. Ooh, yeah. Um, so the things that you're responsible for is being respectful for other people, being kind, being honest when it's appropriate, I would say. I mean, I'm honest the majority of the time, but there are times that safety wise, I'm not always honest. I'm not going to tell some man where I live if he asks or something. Like I don't have to engage with everyone and tell them my whole story, because that can be a tendency, especially if you have the love of sharing, or as some people call it, oversharing. And then also acting in alignment with your values and sticking to what you believe in, and not that you need to like overpower somebody with that, but not giving in to somebody who it doesn't like how you do something. You're not responsible for someone else's mood, for words that come out of their mouth, for their interpretation of what you're doing, for their expectation of what you should be doing, for their disappointment in what you do. You're not responsible for any of that. If it's a close friend and it's something that's impacting your relationship and you want to have a conversation with them about it, you can do that, but you don't have to give up those other things and just always cave in and give up a part of yourself. So the situation that I recently had that made me think about this was a woman, actually a few women who came in at the end of my class who are not in my class, but they're in the next class, and they were new and they didn't know. Well, they should have known. I made a sign for the door that says that our class goes from 10 to 11. The next class starts at 11. So our class is 10 to 11. The next one's 11 to 12. And this place where I teach, sometimes they have a 15, 30-minute break in between classes. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they have them back to back. And the way it works when they're back to back is when we're going out, they come in. Well, some classes, you might come in quicker because they're putting away their weights or something, and there's room for you to go in and set up a mat or something like that. But you always give a few minutes for those people to go out so you're not making it hard for them to put things away. And I've had to talk to instructors before who've done that are actually blocking the space where we can put our yoga blocks away or mats away by pulling out battle ropes. It's like, hello, can you give us a few minutes? Well, it's 5 o'clock. Well, yeah, one, the clock's 2 minutes fast. I'm a stickler about that. The clock isn't even matching our phones. And two, give us a few minutes. So I've talked to the management. I've talked to them, and yeah, like if there's a 15-minute break, 5 of that is yours to get out. 10 of that is then to walk in. But when it's back to back, I've been asked to leave 1 or 2 minutes, or in class 1 or 2 minutes early, so that we can be done when they need to walk in. But what I've done, because yoga, you think of it as, if you haven't done yoga, if you haven't done Shavasana, think of it as you're taking a nap. You're on your bed, but you're on the floor. You're taking a nap on the floor. You wake up, and that's the end of our class. You're coming out of your Shavasana, and you're feeling all those feelings of just coming back to life because you've been taking a nap. It's like, I'm just waking up. You're kind of feeling very in yourself. And then the class is over. And if you're sitting there and you're thinking, what is next? Okay, I need to grab my shoes. I need to, that's a slow transition. And you have a bunch of people rush in and stand all around your mat. It's very invasive. It's very invasive. And so, in order to make it so we don't have that happen, I'm ending 5 minutes early. So we have a few minutes to gather up our things. And then as we're walking out, they come in. And we're still out by 11. They're still in by 11. We usually walk out a minute or two early. But what's happened is there's so many people in that class that they don't want to give up. They want to get their spots and they don't even have any equipment to grab or anything. They want to go and stand in their spot for 10 minutes or 5 minutes. No matter what time I end, they want to rush in and stand in that spot. And so for a period of time, I made a sign that asked them to wait, and they did. I stopped using the sign thinking that they understood the method, but that it slipped back into that and even got worse. So anyway, got back to having the sign again, and we're in a good flow. They wait till we're walking out and they come in. And I grab my little sign and I'm out before 11 and they come in. But this last week, some women walked in as we just ended our class and we were sitting there. We haven't even reached for a shoe or a block to put away or anything. And I could see in my mind, I'm still managing my class. I can see these women, I don't know, 3 or 4. To me, it's like a wall of people coming toward. And I'm right where I could see him. And I said, I need you to wait until we're going out of the room to come in. And she said, but your class is over. And I said, I know, and I should have said, because I saw him reading the sign, I should have said, as the sign says, to preserve the mood that we have in yoga or whatever however I worded it. I just copied the wording that they had in the hot yoga studio. And and, um, and in my mind, since she didn't just say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Okay," and walk out, as people have before, like, "Oh, I didn't realize." Since she had a different response, which was, "But your class is already over," I could have just not really engaged and said, "I know, but please wait until we walk out." Don't give an explanation. But I like to give an explanation, not to prove that I'm right, but just because I was thinking about this, anytime that I've had this kind of confrontation with somebody that doesn't go well, that never comes to a point of understanding, I have a hope in humanity. And I'm not trying to say I have a hope that everybody will like me or be like me, but I have a hope that if I have a communication with someone, that will come to an understanding, that they want to understand and I want to understand them, and that we'll both feel really good about each other. And I have some great optimism with that. And the few times that I've had quite a bit of confrontation, and this one was actually kind of mellow compared to the other ones. There are a few where like a lot of yelling and a lot of swearing, and then me not sleeping because I thought someone's gonna find where I live and burn my house down. Like I just thought this man was so angry at me. But I think, oh, if I just, apologize, or if I just say this, they'll calm down a little bit and we'll come to some even ground. And you'd think I'd learned by now. I have to be reminded every once in a while that that doesn't always happen. And it took me a few days of thinking about it to realize whatever she says, because when we actually did walk out and they were walking in, I had that belief again in my mind, like I will go and say something and hope that she feels all right. I hope, I hope that wasn't too abrupt, but this is, blah, blah, blah. And instead of saying, "Oh, I didn't realize that," or whatever, she challenged me more. Like, there is no official word that says it needs to be like this. And I thought, have you been to any other classes? This is how we do it. And I'm even ending earlier. So as long as I just basically said, as long as we walk out by then, you walk in. My class is a little shorter. Your class is a little shorter. She wasn't the teacher or anything, but she's like, no, our class is not supposed to be any shorter. And she hasn't even been there before, but she wanted to argue. And I realized if I see her again, because I worry about things like that, I want to have peace with everybody. If I see her again, do I need to engage with her? No, she's not my responsibility. If she comes to my class, then she becomes my responsibility. She's the other teacher's responsibility. And she can talk to him about it. She can talk to a manager about it. She's not in my class. And I'm going to let go of having her as a responsibility, of thinking that anybody who's not happy with something, it's my responsibility to help them be happy, because we can't always keep the peace. We can't always keep everybody comfortable. And if we turn that on ourselves, are we always comfortable? Are we always happy? No. Somebody might feel that way about me. They might think, why can't Renee understand that? I don't know. I don't know. So here are some suggestions I found online. Um, Pause before explaining or apologizing. See, is this what I want to do? Do I even want to engage? Do I want to just let go? Do I want to just walk away? Oh, ask yourself, am I doing something wrong? Like, am I being disrespectful? Or am I just uncomfortable with their reaction? Sometimes I wonder about that, and when I thought about it, I thought at the end I was irritated. I actually said something irritated to her at the end because she kept fighting me back. But a friend of mine who is also a yoga teacher attends my class every week, and she said, "I couldn't hear what you were saying, but I could hear your tone, and you were speaking respectfully." And I thought, "Oh, thank you." Maybe she couldn't even hear my irritation because she was farther away by the time I said that last thing. But and then also remind yourself, and this is something that I've learned in yoga. I've learned how to distinguish when I'm doing a yoga pose, and this is a yin yoga pose. It's like a deep stretch where you're holding it for a long time. And this could even be like if you're doing a workout and you're doing lunges or something. Are you experiencing discomfort? Are you experiencing something that's dangerous? Because there's a difference. Sometimes something is uncomfortable and you may have to sit with just being uncomfortable. If it's dangerous, that's a bigger signal, and you need to identify that even when you're doing a workout or yoga or something. If you find like, actually, this is hurting my knee, this is hurting my ankle, this is dangerous for my body. I am in a situation with this person. It's uncomfortable to avoid them, or is it dangerous and I need to really avoid them and just get out of there and not even think about it twice? So there are situations and our bodies can sense that, but sometimes we have a hard time when the feelings are strong, distinguishing and just let yourself, that let yourself see the difference, allow yourself to see the difference. And if it's uncomfortable, you're still okay. It's no fun to be uncomfortable. Go seek shelter, go find a comfortable place to be. And but we often experience discomfort in life, and especially if we're learning to overcome people pleasing and trying to help everybody be happy. And last thing, and my daughter is so good at this with her children, is to let people have their feelings. It's okay if you experience that feeling. It is okay if you're sad right now. I love you and I can see that you're sad. The answer is still no. She does that with her children. The answer is still no. But I will hug you that you're sad about that. And, if you're not responsible for that person, you don't need to hug them. You don't need to do anything to help them. And you don't have to rush to fix anything. Ooh, let's see. I'm sure I'm missing something. How long have I been talking? I love seeing because my little window that I look at, hopefully it's still recording. Oh, it's not that long, 38 minutes. I've spoken longer. If you're on YouTube, if you're watching, my grandchildren were over and I have these little stacking dolls, like the babushkas. Is that what they're called? Nesting dolls, that's what they call it. They start out as Russian ones. My daughter painted these ones that you can see that have the red and that are the bigger ones. She painted them for my son's family, and one of them wasn't finished. And they all have birds, and my son's name's Drake, so his has a Drake duck on it. I have a granddaughter with, you can't see hers, you can't see her bird name. But anyway, they were playing with them, and when I was putting them back away, I got out we have some other ones that all look the same. But, you can be a lot older and still love playing with dolls. So it's kind of fun to set them up. I have a little Gumby and Pokey. I don't know if you can see them if you're on a big screen, but they're really tiny Bindi dolls. And then, if you can call it Gumby and Pokey dolls. And then my daughter, who also did the painting, my husband's an artist and she's an artist Quite a few of my kids have artistic skills. Mine are mm, average. They're not artist skills. They're just like I'm I can do some things. I can design my website, and it can take me a year. But the dolls that are up higher, my daughter used to have a website where she sold those years ago, and one of them's the one that has the kind of tan dress is the first one she ever made. I got that one, and the other one is Wednesday Adams, and I loved it so much she gave it to me. And I don't think she has one. I kind of feel every once in a while I think someday I'm going to give it back to her, but I'm not saying I feel bad because I'm happy that she gave it to me, and it'll probably last longer here because her dogs won't get it. She can see it here. But anyway, I think that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Oh, that was a lot. I mean, just thinking about people pleasing and letting go of that responsibility for others' emotions, I feel it inside just talking about it. And yeah, I really lived a few things, but there's a weight that comes with trying to keep everyone happy. And even though we know rationally it's not possible, we still make attempts. I think, especially as women, maybe not all women do, but a lot of us do. So we can stop carrying that with us. We can realize why it feels hard. And we know with time it gets a little bit easier. That thank you, thank you, thank you. I will play my little song at the end to help you remember to share my podcast with somebody, subscribe, all the things that help my podcast grow and help me be in touch with you. You can go to my website, renee-allen.com. Pretty soon it's going to change from green to pink, which is very wicked coded, huh? But actually, they're very similar pinks, maybe kind of. But yeah, I'm in transition with my website yet again. But I think this might be it. I always say that. I like changing things, but I'm going to try to have some consistency there. We shall see. But thank you again. I will be back with that other episode about consistency. You already know the answer to it. Consistency is not completely possible, but I want to dig into that a little bit more with the challenges that we have with consistency and what we can make progress with and how that's helpful in our lives. So thanks again. I will be back again, hopefully tomorrow. Bye. Help other women find the show. Rate, review, share with someone you know. Help other women find the show. Rate, review, share with someone you know. Help other women find my show. Rate, review, share with someone you know. Thank you so much. Open windows, broken shadows. Frozen dreams are left for tomorrow. Without a cause. No time for a pause. The silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me.